and say that this was their rationale for the moratorium was really powerful.
And we have to wrap up soon, but I do want to ask you which communities are most impacted.
Right. So Black and Latinx communities are disproportionately burdened by evictions. And of course, those are the same communities that are getting battered by COVID. So we really worry that these evictions could potentially broaden disparities that are already wide in COVID cases and deaths.
And your response to Joe Biden choosing Congressmember Fudge to head the HUD, Housing and Urban Development, what do you think needs to be the new policy around housing, particularly how it affects children?
Right. So, of course, affordable housing isn't a new problem, and we already had a housing affordability crisis.
Enough of that. Just let it go. It's not one thing, it's the next. This thing with the software and the government's underwear. Let me start off with, hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob, me. And I am your griot. What is a griot, you ask? It is someone who someone who tells you a story that gives you an ability to read what you need. So it was been snowy and cold for the last few days out there in the deep green, and I'm at one of the places I can pick up a Wi-Fi and say hi to you guys. And it's and what we're experiencing. I've lived a long time. I'm in my 70s. So I experienced the 70s. I experienced the 60s. I experienced the 50s. 50s. I remember a friend of mine whose father was a teacher, and he was a real scholar, and he was really, really good at what he did. And he did not lie or besmirch the truth of what was going down. And so when he was a university scholar, going for tenure there. Hey there, Jay. And he, remember guys, put it in all caps so I can read it. I love you too, Jane. Happy everything to you and your puppy dog too. Get along, right? And because he had more integrity. So they kind of, got him out, and he then was teaching in high school. And someone at university, this is in the 1950s, was jealous of this guy's, and he didn't fight or, he said, fine, I'll go teach high school, which he did. He enjoyed that too. And someone had besmirched him as being, and the FBI came into the class, right? And basically said, okay, you're fired. Kids, and he had a mortgage. And he was a World War II hero and veteran, right? And so he basically, the priest in that neighborhood, and I knew his son. And so the priest said, you can teach at the high school, the Catholic high school. I mean, it's not as what, you won't get, any of the stuff you get at the public school because you're working for the state, you won't be. So he did. And the FBI went to the bishop. So that was hard times. 50s was pretty difficult. And the 60s were not, love and peace and, the early doing its thing until about 66. And in reality, the 70s were the 60s, and so the 70s came in, and the powers that shouldn't be, and the hidden hand and the high table all said, enough of this. These people, no, so they march. Who can, enough of this, no, and so they rezoned the media, and then they basically got, Richard Nixon as president, And Robert was going to be president, but he got whacked. And he got whacked in that little pantry in a hotel in the. Sirhan had a 22 caliber gun, and he just kind of, went like that. And the bullets that killed Robert were 38s. They never. And also found all of Sirhan's bullets, like in the ceiling and in the wall and in the pantry, but they didn't find it in anybody's body. But they found 38s in Robert Kennedy. So, and then we got Dick Nixon, and we got the war on drugs, even though they were bringing it over in the body bags of the kids from Vietnam. And we got another 6 years of war. And we've been at war pretty much since the Revolutionary War. We had the Revolutionary War, which, basically England is like us. They came over here, best army, they won every frigging battle. The thing that George and the boys had was they didn't give up. And so they'd always escape to fight another day. And it was a scam, because what happened was the English just left. The homeboys, made what we have, in a, place. And then, from 1776 to 1812, that's all they did. And basically, England came back. And they came straight up the Potomac, burned D.C. to the ground, and said, okay, you either do what we say or we'll kill everybody, And that was there, and start over again, And so that's where we got the special relationship. And basically, we are just England's toy boy, And again, hey, show is not for children, not for those of light of heart. This is for those who can step up. And, I tell you a story to get you to internalize what's going on, and not in a anxiety, fear, laundry list. Oh, how am I going to pay my bills? Oh, how about if you were somebody who worked as a cleaning, a janitor in, a hospital, and you get COVID and die, and you're only making, $7 an hour, and you've got 6 kids, and they're just about to throw her on the street. And when Ronald Reagan came in, he closed the, federal hospitals, the mental institutions, like that, just like that. And put 6 million people on the street who had been institutionalized their whole life. Oh, they can be on the street. We'll give them their medicines. We'll get them places to go see. And that's one of the things that brought the crime rate up, because you had all these people who didn't know how to act amongst civilization, because Ronnie had kind of cut the cord. And what happened to EPA started OSHA, started Medicaid, Medicare, started all the things, meaning that if he was around today, he would be far left of the crew and Bernie, right? He would make Bernie look like a conservative, and so. What happened was we went off the gold standard for good, and basically we became the petrodollar. I mean, we became the petrodollar after England in the 50s tried to invade Egypt and got their ass kicked, and so they weren't, shown to be the paper tiger that they were. And so what Nixon did was he amortized all that he did by taking the whole of America and turning it into something he sold to Mr. Rothschild. All the towns. So you're driving through America and you're going through a little town and it says, "Welcome to Happy Town Incorporated Village." That means it's a corporation. And you go into a state. "Oh, welcome to Happy State." And it says, Incorporated State. I was in Florida when 08 happened, right? Taking care of my folks. And they crashed and burned their economy. They were like, when people going defunding the police, that's what happened to Florida. They defunded everything, And then I kind of looked into it because I had the access to it since I was working for all these moneyed corporate lawyers. And I found that Florida had trillions of dollars. Hey, how come you just don't sell some of those stocks? Oh, we couldn't do that. No. I mean, why we can sell bonds is because we have those trillions of dollars in stock. And I would lose pension. But what about the policeman? Oh, we don't care about him. What about the nurse? Oh, we don't care. Fireman, we have our own. And there's a guy, the two guys who are running, a senator and in whatchamacallit, in Georgia, who are already senators and are up against some Democrats, right? And the guy, I forgot which one it is, but there's a guy and a girl. Basically, he's been in the Senate, I think, for 6 terms or a long time. And he has sold stock, 28,000 that he had information on, like Grumman's going to get a contract for this. So he buys it when it's down, when it's up, when they're going to lose it. He passed a law stating that senators can do insider trading and it's not against the law. You do it, you're going to jail, not a senator. We had the best legislators money can buy. And what we are experiencing with this pandemic and thing that just went down, that's not that story. It's in that little bug is in everyone's everything, and they don't know how to get it out. That's why they're not talking about it, right? And people want to get rid of the internet. Well, this is a good way to do it. And don't, again, don't believe a word I say. Just go take a look at this stuff for yourself. So here I am living out in the deep green. I have to drive 40 miles to put this little thing up for you. So whenever I do this, I have to go shopping. I don't just do one thing. I make phone calls to, when I got about 5 things to do that I can, so it makes it worth the wear and tear on me in the car and the $6 of gasoline that it costs, John wants me to just drop everything and come to his house for Christmas, right? And that would cost me $60, period, right? And if he got upset and threw me out 20 minutes after I got there, what would I, no. So even though I'm freezing, right? And like last night, it was 8 degrees, but it was a balmy 42 in my box, right? And in my cocoon, my 3 sleeping bags and my electric blanket and 2 comforters. In the movie theater, a little merry-go-round, I felt like that because it was about 84 degrees inside there. And stuff was so heavy. I had so many things on top of me. I think I sprained my hip, it feels better now, but I was awful sore this morning. So even living like that, even I, always have to make sure nothing freezes and I'm always that far from losing electricity. If I lose electricity, I'm dead. And if anyone wants to go to my the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail and go to my PayPal and drop something in there, I would truly, truly, truly love it. And for all those who have done that, and about 6 of you have, thank you very, very much, because it and so 72 was a wild, crazy year. All the 70s. So I was living in New York. I was a dude. I was a disco king. I was working in theaters. I was an artist. I was living in a Soho big loft on Green Street, and it was, and so the oil bar. So I, living in New York, I didn't drive a car. I didn't care. I took a subway or a bus, and there was less traffic in New York, and so, but I had a dumpster dive restaurant off of Chambers Street, but that was more like 73. I was, where I was living actually. 73 and 4. I was living down on the Battery, down, tippy tip of Manhattan, the southerly point, looking out towards Statue of Liberty, below Wall Street. I lived off of a street. I lived on a street called Pearl Street, right? And New York City went bankrupt, so they, it's just like defund. They defunded the cops. They let about 3,000 cops go, and the cops were so pissed off that they started doing crime. They started shooting people in the street, not getting caught, because the cops who didn't lose their job knew who it was. Like the cops who lost, 3,000 of them had a big riot at City Hall and went across. There's a walking thing. You come from City Hall, you can walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. And when they got in the middle, Con Ed was always tearing up the street to fix something, and there was a big pile of chunks of concrete, really gnarly chunks of concrete. So each one of these guys, picked up 4 or 5, and they went across the bridge, got in the middle, and started whipping these chunks of concrete at the people driving their cars and the trains. No. It's the Manhattan Bridge that has trains. I don't think Brooklyn does. I'm not quite sure, but it does have cars and a walkway. And basically, these cops, did an unbelievable cluster frack of traffic. They did it right at afternoon. People trying to get out of New York, and they threw the concrete, and they killed about 6 people, and just tied up traffic for days because all these thoroughfares got clogged, and they couldn't get the smashed up cars out of there, right? So it's on the streets. The oil, people went nuts when they couldn't get gasoline for their cars. Me, like I said, I just took the subway, not a big deal. And so I've seen things way worse than what we have right now. And the only reason why everyone's so bent out of shape is the media is like nonstop, So I get no access. I have to drive 40 miles. I'm in a holler, so I get no real TV, no radio, no nothing. I get 2 FM channels really pretty well. One is a college one, ETSU, very good station. You go online, ETSU. There's a show called Alternative Radio. Excellent. I mean, they have probably, in my mind, and I worked in radio, and I worked in public radio, and I think like Asheville, North Carolina, Roanoke, Virginia. I mean, it's just really pablum, right? And all they have is morning edition and afternoon drive thing, and a few other really useless things that the rich snobby people in those 2 places. Anyway, so but the radio station here is very good. Plus they have they have amazing, and they have really, really good programming. So go check ETSU Public Radio, right? And so I get them, and I get this guy, a Bible guy. He's like straight out of his barn, and I don't know where he is, but he's really close. So it's like he's screaming in my ear. It's the only 2. And then I get a country station, but it's really crackly. And I get a, iHeart Top 40 thing. And, but AM radio late at night, I get the Skip, and I get it from the Planet. I get it from Ireland and Canada and all over America. I get Nevada, I get Las Vegas, I get Atlanta, I get Louisiana, I get Chicago, I get Ohio, I get all over the place, AM, and it's all talk radio late at night, and the people are nuts. Or the people like George Norrie with Coast to Coast, and there's this other guy who's I really like. It's called Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, and he's a lot like me, but more angry, and I mean he's got his fun side too. So that's what, and I have my little short wave, so I can get to be like the radio Paris and the radio. I get to, I got all the countries' English speaking propaganda radio stations, Radio Russia, RT, you name it. RR, Radio Russia, right? So, who else is there? Going to see John at some time, but not right now. Not for, I'm not going anywhere. I'm very comfy, safe, all good. And really, up until now, we've only had 3 really cold days where, and I wouldn't even consider today a cold day because the sun is out and the sun hits you, it's warm. It's about 40 now, but it's been in the 50s and 60s every day and in the 40s at night. I can live with that, Last night it was 8. 2 weeks ago it was hottest days where, the 3 evenings were in the teens and the days were in the 30s, just barely hitting 40. That is, troublesome. That's, the universe always takes care of your sensei, Bob. So far, so good, right? And even though I only live on $400 a month, it's more than enough. Like, I don't know how many of you got the story I told where on Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving, people just kind of strolled into the deep green, and I have people, I don't live that far from the AT, and I live near a really beautiful water source and a waterfall and a river and big lake. So people kind of, meander through my place. But you really have to want to, meaning because the main thoroughfares of the AT don't go through the deep green. But if you are going to look at that stream, see the waterfall, and you go look at the waterfall, and you're above it, and you say, oh, look, down below looks nice. You go down there, and then you can see these other trails, and one of them, it doesn't even go through the green. It just goes near the green, but you can see, with no leaves, my tarps. So anyway, a few people during the summer strolled in, and they were people who were vets who served our country with honor and distinction. They were heroes, but they kind of had serious PTSD, but the government just kept sending him back. This guy was deployed 6 times in Afghanistan and Iraq when it was really bad during the end of the George Bush, early Obama. And he lost it. He was a major sergeant, and this captain came in who had no field experience and said, okay, we're going to go, take these guys. And sir, we can't do that. Everyone, no, I'm the captain. I'm doing it. I want it to look good on my report. I said, sir, it'll look really bad. Everyone will be dead. I'm giving you a direct order. Get the men together and we're going in. Sorry, sir. And he, hit him and got dishonorably discharged. And there were 3 other guys that had similar things, not as, amazing as that one. But it was pretty, and so those guys would come through, and then they would tell other homeless people there's close to 1.7 million with an M, homeless people in the national forests. And a friend of mine who is out of, who comes and visits me, he's in the Forest Service, and I've known him for years through the rainbow gatherings, because I'm the one guy who will work with everybody, and when I was a scout, we'd figure out where we were going to put a rainbow gathering, and I would go to the powers that be and say, listen, we're going to do this. Can't stop us, but how do you want us to do it? Let's work together. And they loved it, because it was like their rainbow when I was like put in charge, like ridiculously. And I just found really great people and let them loose, right? And then I just, tap dance between the powers of authority and and the tie-dyes, and it was amazing. Anybody who went to the Ithaca gathering in 1991 will tell you it was the best one ever. And then I got a really good, nom de plume on that. So I kept being drafted to rainbow gatherings. And, I had a crew, of scouts, Red Bear and Tiger Boy and Teom and Marianne. And it was great. I mean, we rode the rails, and Teom's really old guy, but he was better. He was a Marine at Korea, and he was black guy, and and he came out. He got his went to black schools, got him undergraduate, master's, PhD. He was studying law and African history, and in the 60s and 70s, not so much. So he just kind of went out amongst the people, and became an African griot. He was my first griot. He would tell us stories. He was my teacher of griot, and he was like, he knew every martial art, and it was like 70. So sometimes he could look old. It's like me. Sometimes, he was a little crotchety, but other times he was who he was like? He was like Yoda, Teom. And so there was 4 or 5 years where I was really kind of involved in, and we were helping lots of people. And as long as that was going down, I was all in. But then it was just got into stupid. I mean, you think our Congress and Senate, or you think Moscow Mitch is bad. You can't believe how ridiculous rainbow gathering politics are. It's like, anyway, I got sick of it and left. But I still do have a lot of good friends in that scene, and they basically every now and then come and get me. I at the last West Virginia gathering, which was a total cluster. I mean, it was like, and all I did was go around, clean up messes, of broken people. And I just got tired of doing that. And so I said, listen, I went to council at the end and said, I'm not coming any more of these. Oh, no, Al, you got to come. No, that's it. Not coming. Unless if it's like, on my front doorstep, wherever I am, maybe I'll show up for a day or two. But I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not cleaning up the mess. West Virginia had about 10 messes, all which would be catastrophic. But they had this one where the alcohol, why it's called rainbow gathering, because it allows everyone in. But no, it's as white as you could get. There's 20,000 people there. Everyone's white except for 4 black guys who are, there's no alcohol, but everyone's doing every other drug in the universe there, but not alcohol. So the alcoholic guys have to stay on the outskirts at a camp at the parking lot, where they go hassle people at the parking lot. And so in West Virginia, and back in the day, we walked into the forest, because if cops can't drive someplace, they don't. So, but then we, got lazy and made them drive in camp. So West Virginia was ridiculous. You could drive your car from the county road right through the gathering, and it was in the zoo, right? And this one guy came driving in the alcohol. Hey, can't do that. Come on, you need a guide. They wanted money, and the guy, just rolled up his windows and just flipped them off and just kept driving. And so one of the alcoholic guys put his fist through the window, and it smashed. And it's supposed to be safety glass, but it was big enough shard where the drunk guy, cut one of the veins in his hand. So blood was spurting out all over everyone. This is back when everyone's freaked out about blood and AIDS. And he takes that piece of glass and he slits the rich guy's throat. And the guy goes, and he was trying to get away from the fire hose, this alcoholic guy, A-camp guy's wrist, and that guy got him right there, and he bled out on these 3 girls that were in the back, and they'd never seen blood in their life, and they were like, right? So I'm in my sanctuary up in the, somebody, they really have to come and get me if they want me. And that's usually what I did at those gatherings. I would have office hours at COM, which T. And so I knew emergency medical things. And there were a lot of good doctors there and medics from Vietnam there. But there were other people who would, oh, that's a compound fracture. Let me just rub it with my crystals and it'll heal it. I mean, there were people like that, or somebody would be coming in with cholera. Oh, we have to let them into gathering. We can't just say no. I said, no. So, I mean, those are things I would get livid about. And so I'm up in my, little healing temple. One healer knows where I'm at. And so she comes running. Oh, you got to come. This is terrible. No one can. Oh, we're all. So I said, okay. So I put a few things in my little medicine bag and went down and trotted with her. And it was a mess. And the helicopters were just starting to land because they were flying these people out. So the girls were covered in blood, but they didn't get a nick on them, right? So these fire guys. So I said, okay. I said, put your gloves on, lift these girls out of the car. Are they hurt? I don't think so. But they're in shock. So what I want you to do is to wash them off with your fire hose gently, right? Just a gentle, right? And so they were doing that, and one of them kind of got the thing wrong and like hit them like full blast, and that didn't help the girls. But it did get the blood off them. And they had nice, sturdy wool blankets. So we first wrapped them up in those like Mylar space blankets and then wrapped them up. And then I had them, and I said, can we borrow some of your litters? And they said, sure, we'll come back and get them. I said, great, thanks. And I went through their ambulance and I started putting things from their ambulance into my medical bag. And they go, what do you do? I said, listen, you got a ton of this stuff back in the hospital. We need this. And they said, yeah, you guys get 20,000 people here and you're really not doing a good job, are you? And they let me take everything I want except for, gauze. And I took gauze and gloves and stuff like tape and, I took a blood pressure cuff. I did take that. So, because we didn't have one. And so they let me take everything. So a bunch of strong, strapping guys, we strapped the girls into the gurneys and we, carried them into COM. And I did my thing with them. And then once they got to a point where they could breathe, I gave them some teas. I kind of mellowed them out. And then there were a whole bunch of sisters there to give them sister energy. And we then took them up to my healing temple and I put them on hammocks, right? And then, because whenever anyone's in trauma, if you deal with it immediately, right, and take them through it so they can deal with it right then and there, you can really cut off a lot of the PTSD. And so we kept them there for a day or so, and then the girls took them down to the sister camp and macked them out with flowers and tie dye and got them to relax even more. And by that time, the firemen came back and wanted their gurneys back. And they said, listen, these girls' parents are going nuts, like we've kidnapped them. I said, listen, you know me, you know what I do. These people, if they were in a hospital, they'd be like really totally screwed. When we hand these kids back to their parents, and where are their parents? Why aren't their parents here? Why aren't their parents with them? Oh, they're scared to come. I said, that's one reason why these girls, are in such trauma, their parents. But we're working through that. They're going to be way better when they go back to their parents than they were when they, So about 2 days later, after the 4th, the girls went back and they were like, oh, we're coming to the next gathering. We love it. We're so well. I feel so great, And that's really that's the best part of what a gathering can do. But that was the last West Virginia. That was like 2000 and something. And that was just one thing. There were 5 others. This other guy came and he was going to kill as many rainbows as he could. And he was right on the main drag, and he had a 9mm in his lap, and he had 2 boxes of bullets. And people were just, they didn't even notice. And he was crying, right? He was weeping. He has a 9mm in his hand, and he's loading clips. And so I kind of sit down with him, and I look at him, and I go, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And he goes, I said, "That good." I said, I start talking and, getting him to breathe and then tell me who he was. And then I asked him, I said, "That works?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I know how it works." So he goes, "I can't get these clips in, and that's why no one got shot, because he couldn't get the clips in, right?" So I said, "Here, let me." And so I took, the barrel off and all the springs out and broke it down into the 21 little pieces that the gun was, and then handed them all in his gun. But right now, let's talk about you. Bottom line is, he was a young kid in an Ohio farmer family, was smart, good, and but he wasn't like a manly man, but that was okay. He was really smart, and he basically was homosexual, and he basically went on a class trip where he met somebody he fell in love with, and he came back and decided he was going to tell his parents, and they threw him out. And they actually drove him like 200 miles away to like Cleveland or something, and just get out of the car. Didn't give him a nickel, just get out of the car, and drove away. And took his wallet, so he had no ID, no nothing. And so all like a community, and they were all going to go to the rainbow gathering, and they were all rainbows, and he was good looking, and he was doing a lot of and when I woke up, and they had stolen everything and left him. Somebody doesn't like having that thing. But anyway, that was a kid, and he was going to take out as many rainbows as he could. So again, I said, "Come with me." I took him back to my, healing temple, put him in a hammock, gave him some teas. We talked everything out. And I said, "Listen, you're at this really, you could do something really bad, or you could do something really good. Why don't we try and do something really good?" And so, I walked him to the, what do they call the gay camp? There's another term. It's not so prosaic as the gay camp, but I brought him over there, and there are a number of guys I've known forever, right, who are like ministers and, really the best of the best of the rainbow. And I told them the story, and I told them the story. I kind of knocked him out, because the best thing, this kid, he had been up for like on meth for like a week. And so, I kind of got him down and then put him to sleep, and then left him in a hammock and covered him up in blankets, and then went and got these guys. And when he woke up, there they were, right? And I said, "These are my friends, and you don't like these guys. They're going to help you a great deal." So, they took him back to their camp, and they they have a kitchen, so they got him, chopping, stuff up and cooking and getting water and firewood and doing stuff and just being really nice to him, and, listening to his story and letting him be who he is. And the next time I saw him was a few days later, and he was skipping along the main meadow, and he's wearing a dress, and he says, just happy as like a little kid. And I said, "Yo, buddy." He turned around, he ran over, and he just hugged me. He goes, "Oh, I love you. You're the best. You saved my life. You're the best." And I said, "Well, you didn't want to do what you were thinking of doing, right?" And he goes, "I'm so glad I had no idea on how that thing worked. And I'm so glad you took it apart. I'm so glad you're the best. Oh, you're like, I love you. You're my guardian angel. You're my saint. And those guys in the camp, they're all like me. I love it. I'm healed." I said, "That's right. Isn't this better than, the other alternative?" And he goes, yes, you saved my life. You saved everyone's life. Oh, you're the best. You're the best. And I said, no, you're the best. Because look what you've done in a short period of time. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at. You're the best, buddy. And I still know those guys, right? So I still go to Rainbow Gatherings, but very, 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 very infrequently, unless they're, right there, right? And the last one was in Tennessee, and it was about 70 miles from the Deep Green. And so they actually came and got me, the two girls. And if you go to xratted.blogspot.com and go read one of the cuts that I have, I have these short stories, right? I have some essays, and then I have some, I have A Legacy and Legend are my two novels I'm working on. And I also have another one I'm working on that I don't have up there as of yet. It's called Chicken Neck. I was looking at Moscow Mitch. That guy looks like, and I can't even think of what he looks like. But anyway, I digress. I'm sway with that guy, right? Until he can step up and be really the amazing guy he is instead of doing the laundry list. So someone, I've been trampled on the signal here, so I think I'm going to go. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Go back to the beginning of this thing and watch it, right? Remember, don't worry. Just let go of all the anxiety, because none of this shit matters. It's been way worse than this. This is really... And, conspiracy theories ain't my bag. I tell stories, different thing, right? And again, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not going to tell you to believe anything or to do anything. I just tell you a story so you can reanimate your mind there some way. So I love you, and I'll definitely get a hold of you guys before Christmas. And again, anybody wants to drop anything into my PayPal, go to the dudeawake42@gmail. Could really use it. What else? It's about it. And go read my shortcuts. There's one about the rainbow, and the one that happened in Tennessee, and that was also a clusterfuck. So anyway. And I haven't been that, and that was 2012, I guess it was. Yes, it was 2000. So I haven't been to a Rainbow Gathering since 2012. But it was interesting. I met some really great people there. So that was, I guess, why I was there. And again, I did some pretty amazing work with people. Even though I was, that's when 2012 is when I got the charcoal legs and the diabetes, everything. But I kind of ignored it. I still worked another 4 years. In the or 3 years, maybe 4 or 3 years, I'm not quite sure. For the, I still kept my hedonist life for another 3 years, easy, right? Still was eating chocolate cake 5 times a day. So, and I didn't die. Obviously, the universe wanted me to do something, like talk to you like I am right now. As your sensei Al Bob, your griot. I love you guys, and let's finish up with a prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. Father, sky, Mother Earth, Holy, bless us indeed, enlarge our territory, put your hand upon our shoulder, and keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. I love you guys. I'll see you in a few days. Okay? It's supposed to, I don't go out in bad weather. Today started out cloudy, but it hadn't snowed or rained. We were supposed to get a big snowstorm. That big snowstorm that's in the Northeast just glanced by here. So it was all good. So I love you guys. And good to yourselves. Be good to everyone you see. Don't let the blue meanies get you. Cluster prank. Yep, that's it. Let's not have one. Okay? Enjoy Christmas. And Hanukkah. And Kwanzaa. And every other holiday. I love you guys.